This is Mark Ortiz with the Daily Jesus Infusion. Got a special treat for you today. Got a gentleman from my Bible study. His name is Brett Nelson. And he's going to share his testimony. So Brett, if you can go ahead and share your testimony with us, just go ahead and share it along with us.
Okay, when I was around 6 or 7, I heard about Jesus on the way home from school and started memorizing Bible verses and went to a few children's Bible studies. But my parents were not born again and would not show any interest in church. So I started doing my own thing, got into skateboards and BMX racing, and started racing every weekend and spent a lot of time physical training and working on my bikes. But I felt separated from God. No matter how many races I won, how many trophies I won, there was still a void in my life. But the time I was a teenager, my parents divorced and I moved in with my mom down by the beach in Huntington. Then I started surfing and smoking pot and drinking beers and had a really violent, hostile attitude. Then girls came into the picture and lusting after them, knowing that it was a carnal, sinful lifestyle and did not want to change. Then at 18, my mom got saved, gave her life to Christ, and I wanted no part of that, and would just cringe when she told me about Jesus. So I moved out into a party house and started living deeper in sin, bouncing around to party house, then living on the streets of Hollywood, then back to the OC, moved to Westminster, and through the music scene started selling cocaine and was doing a lot of coke and heroin. Did that for 8 years, then quit selling drugs and moved to Phoenix, Arizona and went to Harley school. But was drinking very heavily when I got out of Harley school. I worked at Harley dealers all over the western United States and still was chasing women, doing meth and heroin, and drinking heavily. And did that for 7 years. By the time I got to Colorado, I was out of control with drag racing Harleys and drinking. Then my life took a big turn, ended up in a Wyoming jail for 4 months. Then that's when I knew that I had to get right with Christ. And I started meeting with a pastor once a week and gave me a Bible to read. And then when I got out of jail, by this time I had lost everything. But there was still Mom, and she was praying for me this whole time. So I moved back to Huntington Beach with just my tools and the shirt on my back. I started attending AA meetings and doing a 12-step program, but still felt empty because I was still living in sin, just no drugs or alcohol. Then after 5 years of in and out of secular drug and alcohol rehabs, ended up at U-Turn for Christ. I was a total mess when I showed up, knowing I was totally broken. I had an alcoholic seizure in the bunkhouse, waking up in an ambulance on the way to the hospital, feeling so bad about my sinful life that I needed God in my life, wanting a new life with Jesus Christ. I felt Jesus tugging at my heart, and Revelation 3:20 tells us, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and dine with him and him with me." And letting Christ back into my life was so peaceful. After a month, I left the U-Turn ranch, getting into different ministries, and God was really changing my life, molding me into what He wants me to be. Letting go of my old self, getting into street ministry, witnessing and bringing people to Christ on the streets where I used to dwell. Now having God use me as an instrument for His glory. If God can use a knucklehead like me, He can use anybody. I went back to U-Turn Christ Ranch and finished up my commitment. My life has so much joy in it, I feel like a little 7-year-old boy again. This is my memory verse back when I was first grade. It's still one of my favorites. God's promise that He'll never leave you or forsake you. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever believes Him should not perish but have everlasting life. John 3:16.
That's great, man. Just great. Okay, just want to thank Brett for doing his testimony for us here today, and have a blessed day in the Lord, and just share your testimony with other people. It's just important that we do that, and do that, so people know where we came from and what we're doing in our life today and being with Christ. Later down the road, there might be some other testimonies coming up, and more than likely going to share mine. And so we'll go ahead and do that, and you stay blessed, and God bless you.
Amen.